Today is Maandamano Day, so we have people at home, peaceful protests as people protest the state of the country. And this is admirable in that there is no fatigue, but in memorizing this, I like to give a different opinion on this day and what I would consider to be more effective. This is a very personal opinion. It is not there to diminish what is happening with the rest of Kenyans or the bigger social agenda and political agenda. For one, it is a proven fact that protests don't lead to any meaningful change. They never have, they never will. What will happen will be the continuous and systemic erasure of the key message as it becomes enveloped by other things. Right now, whatever was being protested in 2024 was about the finance bill, the high cost of living, and of course, the regime. The promises that were broken under the bottom-up campaign, and basically the disappointment of Kenyans with the political class. However, in the following year, it now became an issue of those who lost their lives. And for this year in particular, it is firmly on that ladder. Yet at the same time, the conditions of Kenyans have gotten worse. Food is more expensive. Healthcare is more expensive and inaccessible. Education is worse. Children's schools are burning. We have not been able to discuss any substantial national issue despite having that space for protesting, despite having that space and opportunity to actually influence political change. We are now stuck on the after effects of the 2024 Maandamano, not even its agenda. And therefore, we are likely now to use this event as it has been hijacked first. Remember, by 2025, it had already been hijacked by the political elite who wanted to use that as their prop to get into now the 2027 elections. Everybody stood and had a message that was in line with the Gen Zs. By then they had learned, even the state had learned. That's why the response was so violent and deadly. The other thing is now, Kenya's ideas, Kenya's issues were also buried under that element of blood and protest and murder and abductions. So that the main agenda now seems to have been derailed. It's forgotten. Yet things have gotten worse. So what is this theater of protest? Why don't they work and how could they work? So from still a personal dialectical approach, considering I was very much heavily involved in 2024 Maandamano, I in fact, that's when I got to know Akina Omtata and the rest. Then I kind of now changed that in 2025 and 2026 this year. I'm sitting down and I'm reflecting, is this something that needs to be done as it is being done? So if the issue is the rising cost of Kenya's survival, the inaccess of services for Kenyans, the poor political governance, considering this week we talked about MPs abstaining or just being absent from even voting for the political bill, so the finance bill, so that they could say they were not involved. You can see that the political animal is learning and evolving to counter that, yet the citizens' conditions are worsening. Then what can I as Grace do, or how can I contribute to this dialectic, this situation, so that we can do better or have impact as we do Maandamano? First, we do know that some of the things are not going to change by protest alone. Even when people did the second liberation was now multi-party. The Sabasaba, the thing that led out of Sabasaba, it was not just that you went once a year and did protest and then you used that as political capital, but there was work, organization and mobilization. So mobilization is now getting people to work with you or to be absent or to sit down. Basically, it is that protest, but the organization is putting in place structures, people, lobbying activists, books, literature, cases, theses, going political, constitutional elements to bring change. And so the changes that a Kenyan would be seeking at this moment would be, say, education, health, school, so yeah, is involved, and food, and maybe clothing, right? Those are the basic needs, and security. And you'd be like, political representation, if you made them 5, we need food to be available, accessible to Kenyans. And with food comes water. And so that means, as Kenyans, Gen Zs, millennials, whatever we are, boomers, everybody in their community then understands how water is, how it is taken, how it is captured, and how it can come to them. And then food and production. Over here, from these comments, you have seen people demystifying the things that we know about food and why food keeps and remains more expensive. To have an honest conversation as these tribeless, partyless people, and realizing that 2026, we are going to make sure food in Kenya is available, it's affordable for all Kenyans at the best rate. And therefore, that would involve, 1, county action, but number 2, national government action with MPs and parliament trying to work around that. For me, and for impact, that would be it, because you would stand with your MPs, whether or not they abstain from voting, then you know that this guy did not stand for food. And the next member of parliament, somebody seeking that, would then have their marching orders, because we send MPs to do what they promise to do, but not what we want. They come with their own campaign agenda, beta, hustler, whatever, bottom up, whatever. We don't care what campaign you use. The point is, are you going to pass these policies so that A, B, C, D happens, so that we have food? That's it. And you do that for health, and you do that for education and clothing, so that you can say by 2030, Kenyans have this for basic. And then by then, we are also changing and managing our political representatives in a way that right now they are managing us. You protest, they go, they change, they put rules, you terrorists, you what, they put people in jail, they disappear them, they spread fear, and then it is hijacked by the others who are now going to use that as political mileage to say, I'm not Ruto, I am not so and so. So that is what you do. You drive the conversation based on an issue. The issue was finance, but it was also very broad. The finance bill is like telling people, you have a house, you have a loan, and then you go and say, we are going to protest with the bank. But you don't have food, you don't have clothing, watoto hawaendi shule. You need to first deal with yourself internally, because the bank is not listening. You don't have control. There is very little you can do to change the IMF or the national budget, but you can change your policies and your circumstances. That's the first thing. So in my meditation for this, like I have said, these videos always get violated. In fact, my strikes on this page are on this and sometimes geopolitics. But as Kenyans, as we think of Maandamano and as we think of political agitation, you have to realize that no matter how many times you go to the streets, it will just be bloodshed, or however you will feel accomplished. But if it is not followed up with organization, not mobilization, organization, creating an animal, a living thing out of that so that it can achieve a goal, putting the feet, the legs, the brain, the stomach, the heart to pump the blood, and capillaries to carry, so that this thing cannot be stopped by one person being captured, by abduction, by one single political term, so that even next term, when the MPs or the new president or whoever comes, then you know that they are not coming to bring their own agenda, because these same political animals have their own same continuing agenda. They are going to continue with the unfinished business of Kenyans, as it were, based on us wanting to handle high cost of living, lack of representation, but all these things that were being fought for in the 2024 Maandamano. So that is my very personal submission based on my observation over the past 2 years or so. So thank you for listening.